Alright, so we started just a little bit of a new chapter before the break, so we're going to keep going. And our new chapter is all about finding solutions, or roots, or zeros. And remember, as we go through, fill these out along with me, because these are worth points. These notes are worth basically 10% of your grade, which, for those of you who had really low grades and didn't do these, you kind of screwed yourself over.
Yeah, this should be known.
Yeah. Would have bumped you up 10% if you did all these, and they're pretty easy because you just got to copy them down.
10%?
Yeah. This is 10% of your grade, doing these notes. And sometimes if we do a project, I might put it in this
I think I
category.
did. I can't remember.
Alright, so we're going to be finding roots, zeros, or solutions. They are all different names for the exact same thing. So as I go through, I might use different words, but they all mean the same thing. What this means is, where does your quadratic equal 0, or where does it cross the x-axis?
Oh, we're supposed to.
Yep. When I say roots, or zeros, or solutions, I want to know, where does my graph cross the x-axis?
Are you trying a different pencil?
No, I don't have anything.
I'm trying to use
I'm out.
this thing.
Rough thing. Borrow from a friend.
Have a friend to borrow from.
We have a friend.
Okay.
I wish I had a friend.
So, the first way we can find our solutions is just to graph it in Desmos and see where does it cross the x-axis. Desmos is kind of nice because it'll automatically pop up for you. So this is actually the graph of x squared minus 1. I'll plug that into Desmos real quick just to show you. X squared minus 1. And on Desmos, when you click on the thing here, you see these little dots on your x-axis? These are your solutions.
Yay.
They're really easy. So our solutions are the x value. Because my roots are zeros or solutions, y will always be 0. So I don't really care about y, because it's always going to be 0. What I want is the x. And on this one, I have two solutions. I have 1 and negative 1. Which you can also see just by looking at the graph here. I got negative 1 and 1. So when I say my solutions, I have to go x equals, and then I just list them. Negative 1, 1. They don't really need to be in any particular order. You just got to list them. On the exit ticket, I might say put them from smallest to biggest, but on like a test or whatever, it doesn't matter. So that's really the easy way. You just plug them into Desmos and see what you get. See where they cross the x-axis. That's what I said. Thanks for mocking me. Way to start the new quarter off strong.
That should be a strip.
I can remember that. Alright, so on these graphs, when I look at these, we actually just did this first one right here. I had two solutions. I had x equals negative 1 and x equals 1. I said those backwards. X equals negative 1, x equals 1. Those are my two solutions. On this next one, I have the graph of x squared equals 0. This one's a little different. It only crosses my x-axis at one place, right here in the middle. This one is at x equals 0. And then on part C here, this is x squared plus 1. Does this graph ever cross the x-axis?
No.
No. So on this, I say there is no solution. I usually just go in S because I'm lazy. I just go in S for no solution. So keep in mind, as you answer these, you're going to have one of three situations. There is either going to be 1, 2, or 0 answers. So this first one, which we did on the other slide, was x equals negative 1 and 1. This one in the middle is just x equals 0. And the last one is no solution. 0 answers means there's no solution. Alright, first in-class problem, I want you to plug x squared minus 2 into Desmos. And I want you to tell me what are your solutions. And when you plug these into Desmos, don't worry about the equals part, the equals 0 part. The equals 0 here. You could plug it in and it won't get you the wrong answer, it'll just look a little funny. So just plug in Desmos the x squared minus 2. Just do that.
He doesn't give an exact answer.
Is this right, Loki? Cokes.
And you might get decimals, it's fine. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's like.
It's a minus 2.
Why is mine different?
And if you finish the first one, do your second one too, real quick.
Looks
like x squared minus 2. Yep. So where does it cross the x-axis? Plug in those dots.
So the negative always becomes a
Yeah, let me use it.
That's
Mr.
one.
Boki.
You can click on it. Stay there. and then click on the other one. All right, here's your ivory. Hold up. There you go. Those are your answers. Put them out. What?
But it does cross that.
You know what's coming.
So would always the negative become to a positive?
Oh, it doesn't matter. So it will only matter if I say it's a credit. Answer this right.
Can I put them? There's just a last one.
But you have another one on the right side.
You have to put parentheses or under.
Nope, just x equals and then whatever your numbers are.
So I would put is just x squared.
It'll just be x equals. Oh, yeah, x squared is there. And then the minus 2. Yep. And then you just click on
Oh, I see what you.
the little dots there. Click on them. Desmos is kind of nice that way. And you get your first answer. Click on the second one for your second answer. Yep.
Wait, what? 414.
Yep.
Really?
Oh, you did the second one.
I did.
Yeah. Oh, you just rounded different. That's fine. All right.
And we leave it at that.
We leave it at 1.4.
Yeah, that's fine. So you got the negative 1.4 and oh, when you do these, you just need the first piece because this is always going to be 0. That will always be 0 because that's what it means when it's a solution. When that's 0, whatever the x is your answer. So that's your first one. And then your second answer is over here on the right. So positive. So that's your second answer. So answer 1 and then answer 2. And you can just do like all right. So let's go over this. Let's start with Greg. What'd you get for the first? What'd you get for this one?
What?
What'd you get for this one right here? For your answers, x equals what? Oh, better plug it into Desmos. We'll come back to you. Yep, no table. Just the x squared minus 2.
Is that positive too?
No. Plug it into Desmos and see where it crosses the x-axis.
Okay, I plugged it into Desmos and I can't even see where it crosses the x-axis.
Why are you making the table?
Lily can't.
Crosses the
Your hair looks curly.
right there. Crosses it right there.
Which is? Okay.
It's the exact same thing.
Okay. Yeah. Alright, what numbers are there, Greg? Click on them. What do you get?
That's 1.4.
Okay, but there's another one, right? On the other side. What's your other one? Hey, negative 1.4. Hey.
4, 1, 4.
Yep. So as you do these, just give me 1 or 2 decimals. It's not really a big deal.
1.14.
Either way. Alright.
1.4.
And how about, Luis, you do the second one right here?
Oh, we didn't do the second
Yeah,
one.
you do the second one yet? Alright, plug it in real quick. Tell me what you get.
27.
Not 27. That wasn't even lying. It's a dang lie.
27.
Yeah.
That's a stretch.
I should actually.
Oh,
do it.
it's there.
So-
Oh.
Although it's really just Magi that does that. He gets in trouble for talking.
I'll answer
You'll be one of the next ones.
Are we on the second one?
Yep, just 0. Yep, we're just doing the second one real quick. So, on our second one, we have 2x squared. Plug it into Desmos. Just to show you. For the second one, 2x squared. And I only have one answer, right? Right here in the middle.
Yeah, you put in 4x.
If you're not sure, you can always zoom in and see if it kind of looks like it crosses. And it's just one spot. It's going to be x equals 0. That's it.
And then what's the point in this series?
Just the easy way of finding solutions. We'll do some real world ones later. Because this is actually, could be
Like
very
outside and
useful.
stuff?
What? No, like real world situations. Like, they're kind of story problems.
Or like, I don't want to
Like if you ever own your own business, this is very important. Alright. So that was the first way, is to just plug it into Desmos and Graphic and see what you get. So our second way is we are going to solve. We're going to solve for this. So I have x squared minus 1 equals 0. So we're going to solve it for x. Beto, what do you think the first step is if we're going to solve it for x? What? But I didn't hear you. What you said? Close. That's going to be our next step. We're going to plus 1. So on this, we have to get rid of the squared, which Beto was right. We are going to end up square rooting. Remember, this is what our square root looks like. But the first thing, we need to get the x squared down to the very end. Remember, we are doing PEMDAS backwards when we solve. So we want to get rid of addition, subtraction first by doing plus 1 on both sides. So we're going to get x squared equals 1. And then we're going to do what Beto said, and we are going to square root, which is that little, kind of looks like a weird divide sign. And we can plug that straight into Desmos. So we're going to get x equals, and I'll just show you Desmos real quick. We're going to do square root of 1. Square root looks like a little check mark. It's down here by the pi and the ABC button. Looks like a little check mark. Inside there I'm going to put a 1. And hey, the square root of 1 is 1. Yay!
Wait. I thought we put.
Yeah, that's
I thought we put x squared in there.
We square rooted it, but when we square root it, they're opposites. The square root and the squared are opposite of each other, so they cancel out.
Okay.
We just have it. So I got x equals 1, but we have to be careful. I think we've talked about this for this class, but in case we haven't, I'll go over it again. So we made the square root ourselves, right, when we plugged it in. Whenever we square root something, we get 2 answers. We get a positive and a negative. I got my positive version here, right, which means I also have a negative version. So I'm also going to have -1. So the reason we do this is, okay, let's work backwards a little bit. I have x squared minus 1, right? If I plug in positive 1 in for x squared, what's a positive 1 squared?
1.
And I have minus 1, right? That equals 0. Alright, so that works. I know that works. What if I plugged in -1? What's -1 squared?
1.
It is also positive 1. Luis, what's a negative times a negative?
Wait, what? Did you say my name?
Yes.
Oh, wait.
What's a negative times a negative?
A negative times a positive.
Positive, right? So -1 squared, -1 times -1 makes it positive 1. 1 minus 1 equals 0. So that one works. So that's why we have 2 answers. We have a positive and we have a negative version. That only happens when you make the square root yourself. I made this myself to solve my problem, so I have 2 answers. Positive 1, -1. And those are my final answers. That's all I have to do. Like that. Not always. No. Today, it'll be like that a lot, but not always. Alright, so we're going to keep going. We are going to find the solutions of 3x squared minus 75 equals 0. So I'm going to go ahead and do my PEMDAS backwards. Going backwards here. Moses, what am I going to get rid of first? The 3, the squared, or the minus 75? We're going to get rid of the minus 75 by plussing it on both sides. And we're going to get 3x squared equals positive 75. Okay. Okay, what's next? Are we going to get rid of the 3 or the squared? PEMDAS backwards. Yeah, we're going to get rid of the 3. So, PEMDAS is going to be at the very end, or the exponent is going to be at the very end always today. Exponent is always going to be last today. So I am going to divide by 3 on both sides. And I'm going to get x squared equals 25. And now my last step is to square root it.
Isn't it 5?
And it is going to be 5. But what else do I have, Ivory?
-5.
And -5. So we got x squared equals 25. We get rid of the squared by square rooting, which means I also have a negative answer, -5. It will be like this a lot today, where we have a positive and then a negative like this. Not quite always, but quite a bit today will look like this. It'll be more interesting later on, but for now, let's start with the easy ones. Delia, I have on this one, t squared equals 144, right?
Mhm.
What's the only thing I need to do?
Oh, where
Yes, only thing on this one we have to do is square root it. Because there's no plus or minus, there's no multiply or divide, they're just the square, so we square root it on both sides. And I'm going to get t equals, do you know what the square root of 144 is, Delia? Well, and, what else do I need though? I made the square root myself. Negative 12. That's it.
that's all you do for that one?
Yep, that's all we do for that one. That one was kind of easy. Because it was mostly done for us already.
No, X did square.
Alright, I believe you guys are up. Alright, I want you to do part A on your own. Part A on your own.
Would
And
that
then
be
after you get an answer,
36?
check with somebody sitting by you, see if you get the same one. And then we're going to do part B together. And then we'll do part C probably.
Okay.
And then that'll be just about it. We're pretty much done with our lesson after this.
We're doing B.
We're going to do B together. But you can do C if you want to.
Okay.
If you finish A early. Do you have a question, Kinsey?
So
Or-
negative.
What?
Would we put the negative sign
Or which one?
in there? 36.
No, because you add it on both sides, right? To get positive 36.
What?
But, okay.
5, 7.
Alright, on this one, right? What's the first thing you have to do?
Add one to both sides.
Add what to both sides?
One.
36.
Is it, oh.
Mm. So we're going to plus 36 to both sides.
Does cross out?
So it crosses out right here. And then we have to add it over here on the right side of the equals. So we have m squared still here. And then it's going to equal, what's 0 plus 36? Now, square root it. Now do your square root.
Then that equals 6.
And
Negative 6?
that's it.
So the answer you get on when you do the square root thing,
Yeah.
you just have to put another one for the opposite.
Yeah, but the negative. Because whenever you make the square root yourself, because you made it yourself to get rid of that square, no, you didn't. You'll always get two answers. It's a positive and a negative.
Wait, this one.
We're going to talk about that together. Still awake, Ashlyn? Ashlyn, wake up. Alright, let's go over this one. I think we are at... I think we're at Jace.
What?
What's the first thing I gotta do on part A?
You must add 36 to
I don't know, the way you phrased it was fine. Yeah, we're gonna add 36 to both sides.
Yeah.
We must add it.
You must.
We get m squared equals 36. Ruben, what's next?
Divide.
What?
Divide.
Or what?
Oh, I mean,
Just divide.
oh, you square root.
Yep. It looks like a divide sign, but it's a square root.
Square root.
We're gonna square it. And we're gonna get
I was looking at the
m
wrong
equals, what do we get, Alzea?
6
Square
and
root.
negative 6.
Perfect. 6 and, because we made the square root ourselves, negative 6. Perfect. Alright, let's look at part B over here. On part B, Kinsey, what's the first thing I need to do? Close, not add 15, but minus 15 on both sides. Alright, on part B, we're going to do part B together real quick. We're going to minus 15 on both sides, right? That's a 15, I promise. We get a 3x squared equals negative 15. Ashlyn, what do we need to do next? There you go. Are we going to divide by 3 or are we going to square root it?
No, divide.
Divide by 3. We're going to divide by 3 on both sides, and we're going to get x squared equals negative 5. Luis, you got Desmos on there? Yeah. Okay, we're going to square root it, right? Luis, tell me, what is the square root of negative 5?
Undefined.
What'd you get?
Undefined.
What's it say?
Undefined.
Undefined, right?
Hold on,
I'm gonna
number.
zoom in a little.
And
So, when we get undefined, we have no solution. Because what this means is your graph is way up here and it never crosses. So whenever you get a negative inside your square root, you plug it in, you get undefined, we just say NS for no solution. And that's it. Don't need to do anything after that. Alright, last in-class problem. Do part C if you have not done it yet.
No solution.
Do C.
I have no room now.
So find some other space. Do part C if you haven't done it yet. I'll give you a couple minutes, and then we're done with our lesson. You guys did good today.
finish.
Sorry, though.
Now that's that.
You get?
Go be like, what the frick?
Come on, Jace.
Yeah.
Calm down, Jace. Calm down. Do you have a question?
There can't be any.
Okay.
So there's both zeros, right?
Yeah, 16 minus 16.
You can't have a negative or a positive zero. It's just zero.
Not the 2 O's, see?
Oh, it's not negative.
If it's not a number, then why is
Computer
it
froze.
If it's not a number, then why is
D2
it
equals
I
0.
forgot the minus 16.
Oh, it's a letter. Zero is a number.
Zero is not a number.
I said O is not a number.
You said 2 at minus 16.
No.
Yeah, you said zero.
Go give.
Yeah,
know what
brain
it
is
is.
0, right? You get 4
Yeah.
squared equals 0.
We're doing X.
Yes. It's not turned on yet.
Can
but
he
it will
do
be
a
there.
negative?
My computer froze.
Well, let's
Okay.
look at it. All right. Greg, what's the first thing we gotta do? Actually, no, I haven't plugged you.
Low key, my computer froze.
Yeah, you plugged on me like 4 times too.
Yeah, I know. That's because you were
How
talking.
long was it?
All right, tell me how to do it, Greg.
So you all minus 16.
Yep. We minus 16 on both sides, right? And I get 4d squared equals 0.
When we do
Better,
that,
what's
it's
next?
like obvious it's always zero.
If I'm solving it for d right there, what do I get? Or what do I have to do next? Yep. Then we divide by 4, and we get d squared equals 0. And Lily, last step.
Square.
Square root it. Yeah. And what do we get?
No.
On this one, do we get a negative 0? No. I mean, we do, but negative 0 doesn't matter. So on this one, there is actually only one answer, 0.
I'm gonna go get the comic book. My other one froze.
I didn't.
Okay, that's fine. Figure exit ticket. Alright, that's it. Nice job, guys.
Now we're done.
So, do your exit ticket. If you haven't yet, I will turn on Socrative. This one will be in Socrative. And I'll put your homework on Google Classroom. Try to get it done today. Start off strong. Some of these are graphing. So you will want to do those on your Chromebook real quick.
He didn't teach us.